This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
So it is summertime. It is vacation time. Hopefully you, dear listener, you're planning on hitting the beach or getting away someplace. Planning vacation is something that we take very seriously around here because if you're going to go through all the time, effort, and trouble, you might as well have a good time. However, as it would turn out, one thing can ruin the whole thing, John. Just mess the whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's done the same thing to me, right? So you have everything planned. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready to leave on a European holiday, or you're going to go to the islands, or whatever your thing is. And if that first plane is late, all of a sudden, it's like the domino effect of, well, now you miss your connecting flight.
Yeah.
Now you're in it a different day. Now you missed your reservations. Now you don't. And I watch it happen. And myself, one day, twice, one day at the front end of the trip, ruined in my mind, because it's all emotional, right?
Yeah.
It ruined like the next 7, 8, 9, 10 days. It did it. I'm like, man, had we gotten in there when we were supposed to, we would have had our down day like we're supposed to. We wouldn't have had such an issue getting the luggage done. And it happens. Yeah. It happens to all of us, though. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just the emotional. I say there's nothing we can do. There is. And I'm sure that there's some therapist out there going, yes, John, those exercises. Woosah, woosah, right?
The thing about that case scenario, though, is that it's just one trip. So when we think about planning for our retirement, things that can come along, just one thing and mess up the whole retirement experience. Let's break this down. The reason why I bring all this up is because it's summertime. It's vacation season.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people, of course, getting away. There was this survey done by GoCity.com, and they surveyed a bunch of people to ask about a dream vacation. And what the return was, the perfect vacation, it lasts 11 days. It's only 3 hours from home, so people don't want to travel that much. They want to be vacationing, not traveling. And it costs nearly $9,000 per person. So apparently they're staying all 11 days at some sort of fancy Four Seasons all-inclusive. Because $9,000 a person, dang.
I like all that so far, the cost.
However, the study also found that a whopping 92% says if just one thing goes wrong on a trip, it is enough to ruin everything else.
There you go.
And
100%.
The idea is not only applicable to vacationing, because when it comes to our planning for retirement, you have seen circumstances where one thing in a plan could mess up the entire thing. Is that not true? It
happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, and especially when it comes to timing, right? So a lot of people that I run into all the time, and they'll come into the office like, yeah, John, so I'm thinking about retiring. I've got $983,000. As soon as I get to $1 million, that's when I want to do it. There could be almost nothing more arbitrary in the world about just having some round number. There's almost nothing more arbitrary than that, because whether you have $973,000 or $1 million, the question is, how much income can you derive off that amount of money to live the way you want? Because there's a lot of people that when they say, well, I got $1 million and they think they're going to live a certain way, they need $1.7 million to live that way, right? So unfortunately, there's a lot of us that do some crazy stuff, but there's some other ones that can derail us too. So let's go through some of the list of things that I have seen truly cause people harm over time and unfortunately blow up the rest. So the first thing when you're ever thinking about retirement finances, it's different than just building a big old pile of money or a portfolio or an asset base. It's a little different because when we get to that retirement concept, we have to understand, okay, I've spent 40, 50, 60, 70 years getting to this point. How do I hold on to what I got, right? So you have to have some form of protection, and then you got to create income from it. So if we think about that, one of the biggest things that I see that messes people up is they take Social Security at the wrong time.
Okay.
I don't know why. They talk to their neighbors. They remember what their parents did. They've, scoured the internet, all these things. Mathematically, there is a perfect time to take Social Security if you know exactly when you're going to die.
Yeah.
Problem is, I have yet to meet anyone who knows with total certainty what their last day is going to be. Or, here, let's add to that, or what the last day that their spouse may be alive. So because of that, there is no way to plan for an exactly right Social Security case. Yeah. The question is, how much do you need at the age that you're going to retire? That's what it stems from in the very beginning, right? Because when you get to there, then you have to figure out, well, what's taxation going to be? Are you going to have any other active income? Where's your other income sources going to come from? How much you're going to pull from your portfolio? Because as you add those things up, if you take your Social Security early, you could be paying tremendously more taxes than you think, and you have to pull more money from your portfolio just to stay retired. That's terrible. As opposed to some people, I'm like, hey, if you're going to retire, you still, let's say 69, I still may tell them mathematically, go ahead and start taking your Social Security as soon as your full retirement age. So 66 and 8 months or 67, whatever your date is. Still, I want you to take it early. Why? Because mathematically, you may have more money in your pocket all the way until from the time you start taking it to age, let's say 91. I've seen that is a number I see all the time, either 89 or 91. So the question is, when would you rather have more money in your pocket? When you're 89 to 91 to gone?
Yep.
Or from every day from the time you turn it on to get to 89 to 91, right?
Right.
So most people, they're like, John, I want to live in retirement. I want to have some fun. I want to go travel. I want to go to the Bahamas. I want to do that Mediterranean cruise. I want to take the whole kids and grandkids down to Disney or Orlando, or I'm thinking about a beach house somewhere to either rent or do a timeshare or whatever. Right. And so when are we probably going to use those things? In the beginning of our retirement, when we're younger and healthier, and we still have those dreams, and they're still very poignant. So those are the things that I really want to tell people. Don't take Social Security at an arbitrary time. Do the planning on that. This is a good time, if you're thinking about it in that time frame, to talk to a financial advisor, not for them to sell you and hawk you junk. Exactly opposite. To figure out where you should consider taking it, because there's no perfect answer. There's really just the answer that's going to benefit you the most, either in the short run, the middle run, and the long run. And we don't know how long you're going to last, right? So we just want to plan for that, right? So taking Social Security at the wrong time, I see cause a lot of people stress, but it can also cost you 30% of your entire paycheck. So make sure you get that right. All right. The second one is understanding that the way that you got to be that millionaire or multimillionaire is going to be very different than how you maintain and stay a millionaire or multimillionaire. I know it sounds outlandish. I know it sounds like buffoonery, but it's true. Typically, in order to make tremendous amounts of money, you have to take risks. You have to be a little bit more aggressive. And if you do that, if you invested in Microsoft and NVIDIA and Tesla and all these things over the past 15 years, you've done quite well, right? And so that risk and that aggressiveness gets you the biggest pile of money. But if you want to hold on to that pile of money and you need it to provide an income for you and a surviving spouse, and hopefully have something left over for the kids, you're probably going to have a little bit more of a conservative philosophy. And this is a paradigm shift, guys. I get it. I know it. I can't explain enough that when we get to within 3 years of retirement, all that risk that built that huge part of that portfolio, we need to diffuse that a little bit. We have to know exactly of that portfolio what we require to produce income for us, and the other portion that we can take as much risk as we want, as long as we're aware. It could go up and it could go down, and we don't know. But we won't require it for the first 20 to 25 years of retirement. It's unbelievably important. In doing that, which I call bucketing, right? We have 3 buckets. One for the money that we're going to need over the next year to 2 years. That makes sure that we can survive to fight another day. That middle bucket, this one in the middle, that is built to be our conservative bucket, that is built to provide income that we can keep feeding that first bucket. Because once we've gone through that emergency fund and that cash and those safe investments, we need something to produce that income so we can stay retired, right? To supplement Social Security and our pensions. That third bucket, which is where a lot of us, especially if we've, been thumping our chest, market's been good. Ooh, I'm virile. Yes, let's get market gains. We need to tamp that down just a little bit, and it becomes a bucket, one of the 3 buckets. And so whether that is the majority of your money or a very small portion of your money, that's the part that we can stay in and play that game. But the rest of it, we have to understand. Conservatism is how we preserve what we've spent an entire lifetime to build. Okay. So those are the 2 big ones right out of the gate. And then the last one I'm going to talk about right now is making sure that we spend correctly. I know that budget is a dirty word. I know it. Even in my own house, I get it. It feels weird to say that you're on a spending plan, or you have a budget, or you have to spend within your means. It just feels like, why would I retire if I have to spend within means? Well, the reason when you retire, you have to spend within your means is so you can stay retired. There are unbelievable numbers of professional athletes that have made $20,000, 30, 40, 80, 150 million dollars in their playing career. And their playing career ends when they're 39. And guess how much money they have when they're 42? None. Between dumb divorces, bad business deals, blowing it like it's going out of style, and goodness knows what else. They have no money after they've made 40, 80, 150 million dollars. So understand, we can't live the same way in retirement often unless we have an income plan for it. Now, don't get me wrong. I got clients that spend a couple $1 million a year in retirement. But what does that mean that they have? They have income streams that support that. It's not just based on assets. They still own asset income streams that are producing money, whether it be from real estate or Airbnbs or oil royalties or things like that from companies that their parents and grandparents and grandparents owned. But we have to be aware of that. So you have to spend within your means, and you have to actually plan for that. You also want to have a little bit of extra out there so that when you do have fun, you're not dipping into the other things. So the big three, just to recap. Number one, make sure you take your Social Security at the right time. Not the perfect time, but the right time based on your tax needs. Number two, make sure that you understand more conservative approaches when you get to retirement, at least when you understand the buckets. And lastly, make sure that you spend within the means of the retirement you want. And if you're not there yet, maybe defer retirement just a little bit to make sure that you can get it where you need it.
It's all part of the planning process that they do daily at J. Hagan Capital. So if you have questions about these ideas, wanting to ensure that you don't have some big one thing in your plan that could ruin the rest of it, let's get to work helping you put a plan in place and acknowledging these points that Jon just pointed out here, these three ideas. RetirementSolutionShow.com is our website and where to start the conversation with the team at J. Hagan Capital. You can also click on the links we got posted in the show notes. Avoid the one major error in your retirement plan, whatever that one major error might be. It can be different for everybody, so let's make sure that you've got a plan in place for your goals. Again, it's RetirementSolutionShow.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting RetirementSolutionRadio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.